It is Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024, my friends, and I've got an NBA player props for you guys. Yesterday, we took the day off of the NBA, but we're back today. I've got a few winners for you, and of course, I've got a parlay of the day. You don't want to miss this. This is the free three. What's up, guys? It's your boy, Noble Living, back with another DYF Bets video where I'm breaking down my favorite picks and plays of the day as we just try to get to the bag together and make some money. I don't know what it is on the channel. We've been starting off months slow. January was slow. February was slow. March was slow. We finished all those months over 50% hit rate on the channel, actually over 55% hit rate. So bear with us because yesterday we started off the month slow. 1 and 2 on the day here to get the April card started. You hate to see that. We cashed in on our Nerfy of the day. We love our Nerfies. 4 and 1 on our Nerfies to start the year. If I don't give out a Nerfy as an official best bet, then you make sure you tap into Twitter to get that. We also lost on the Marlins money line. And you know what? That Marlins team, I just don't know what they're doing, man. They were up 4-0. Their pitching is god awful. I know we're just early this season, but they might be on my ban list. And then we also lost in our hitter lay as Juan Soto drew 2 walks, but he wasn't able to get us a hit. Jake Burger got us a hit, but not Juan Soto. So 1 and 2 on the day. You can see our year-to-date record right here. We still crushing it, still killing it. Over 55% hit rate on the channel as of right now. But like I said, we start off the month slow, so you gotta bear with us. You gotta be a part of the family. You gotta stick with us. So smash that like button and subscribe to the channel, so this way you guys know when we're heating up how to be able to find these winners with us. All right, my friends? Like I mentioned today, I've got a few best bets for you in the NBA. Let's get into it. For my first best bet of the day, like I said, we are going to be going with a player prop here, a few player props in the NBA. And the first one, we're going to go to the Utah Jazz and the Cleveland Cavaliers matchup. Now, right now, one thing that I want you guys to be doing in your handicapping, especially in the NBA, is pay attention to what is going on with the standings, because that is super important as the playoffs are now here on the brink. Teams are tanking for the lottery picks. So now it's that time where you really have to pay attention to who has something to play for and who doesn't. Well, guess who has something to play for? That's right, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Right now, they're the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, and the Knicks are only half a game behind them with the 4 seed. So this is a very big game. Meanwhile, the Utah Jazz, they're in full-blown tank mode. They've lost like 9 games in a row, lost 9 of their last 10, maybe like 13 out of their last 15. They're absolutely god-awful. Lauri Markkanen's probably shut down, or he's been out with injuries. Jordan Clarkson as well. So that's like a makeshift team. There's a lot of 10-day guys in there, a lot of up-and-coming guys like Keontae George, Colin Sexton, guys who just can kind of get the better minutes, but they're not really going to win you games, right? So now we have a game here where I'm looking at the line, right? The Cavaliers are about 11.5, 12-point favorites in this matchup. Can I lay that number? I don't think so. But I also lean to the over in this matchup, but the line has moved significantly to the over. It opened up at 210. Right now we're seeing at 216, 217 on certain books. And for me, I just cannot lay that, right? There's just too much line movement with me. Personally, I might try to snipe it live. So how do I play the over without playing the over? Well, that's why now when I look at the player props and I look at certain props that are going to allow us to go over. So I actually have 2 player props in this matchup. I typically don't do this in terms of give you 2 player props for the same team in the same game. But when I do that, make sure you practice bankroll and unit manage accordingly. But to get us started today, we're going to go with Darius Garland over 6.5 assists, minus 115 odds. Now, Darius Garland is the guy on this Cleveland Cavaliers team who's looking to dime, who's looking to facilitate. Now, especially with Donovan Mitchell here, Donovan Mitchell looks to shoot the ball a ton. You guys know that. And as a result, it's now forced Garland into more of a facilitator role. On the year, Darius Garland's averaging about 6.5 assists per game, but over the last 5 games, he's averaging about 9 assists per game. So you love to see that. Now, that number does take a slight dip on the road, again, hovering around 6, but when you look at some of his recent games, he's gone over this total. On the road at Denver, he only played 29 minutes, and what was a blowout win for the Nuggets in that matchup, he still had 7 assists. In the game before that against the Sixers, he had 12 assists. In the games before that against the Hornets, one was at Charlotte, one was at home, 12 assists and 10 assists. So he's gone over this number in 4 straight games. You definitely love to see that. And now we here have a favorable matchup against a Jazz team that's ranked in the bottom 5 in the NBA, not just a points allowed, but this is also a team, like I said, they're in tank mode. They really don't have a lot of incentive to win this game, and I do think that this is a matchup that goes over, and I do think that the Cavaliers are the more talented team here, and I do think that they can cover the 11.5 and 12-point spread. But when you also keep in mind that the Utah Jazz don't give up a ton of points to point guards, what they do is give up a ton of assists to point guards. They're actually the #1 team in the NBA that gives the most assists to point guards, and we've seen this exploited by guards in some of their recent games. They last played the Kings in their last matchup. They lost that game 127 to 106. Guess how many assists that De'Aaron Fox had in that game? That's right, 12. And De'Aaron Fox is not really a point guard who's dishing and diming too much. Jalen Green and the Rockets and Fred VanVleet in the game before that, guess what? Both of them had 6 assists. Jalen Green, 6 assists, is a guy who's shooting the ball 25 points per game. That lets you understand, again, the Jazz are not giving up a lot of points to point guards, but they're allowing a lot of assists to happen. The Spurs in the game before that, Trey Jones, 10 assists. So you guys kind of get my point here. They give up a lot of assists to point guards, and now we have a matchup here that I think favors the over, that favors the Cavaliers, and I'm just going to bet on Darius Garland doing what he does best, which is dishing and diming, and he's been going over this number consistently, and I also like the fact that the Jazz have been getting killed by point guards, so give me Darius Garland over 6.5 assists as the first best bet of the day. Now, like I mentioned, I do think there's going to be a lot of offense in this matchup, so because of that, the question is who's going to be scoring for this Cleveland Cavaliers team. That's now when I have to go to my boy here, Mr. Donovan Mitchell, and we're going to go over 22.5 points, minus 120 odds. Now, Donovan Mitchell has struggled recently for the Cleveland Cavaliers as he's been coming back from injuries, trying to find his way back into a rhythm. He's averaging about 27 points per game, so we know he can fill it up at any time. I mean, we know what Donovan Mitchell can do, but since he's come back from injury, he's had 2 games, and in both of those matchups, 13 points and 12 points, so not very good. Now, what's also alarming and concerning to me is the shot percentage that he's shooting from the field. He shot 3 for 12 from the field in that game against the Nuggets. He shot 4-13 in that game against the Sixers. Both of those games, not very good shooting from either behind the line or also inside the line. Now, before his injury, he was struggling on offense as well. 4-13 against the Rockets for only 13 points, 5-16 against the Pelicans for only 14 points, 5-13 against the Bulls for only 19 points. So for me, something has to give here. Donovan Mitchell, he needs to be able to find it, he needs to be able to turn it up, and there's no other better team for you to do it against than a place that you're used to playing. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell started off his career with the Utah Jazz, played there for 5+ years, so he's very familiar with playing at the Jazz, even though he's not on the team anymore, but that's kind of like a home familiar feeling for him, and I think this is an excellent matchup against inferior opponents, against inferior defenders, against kind of younger guys that can allow him to get into that rhythm that he should be able to score points. Now, also keep in mind that he's only played 2 games against the Jazz since he's left the Cavaliers, but in both of those games, he's gone over this total. In the matchup that he faced against them last year, in 36 minutes, he had 46 points. You love to see that. In the game the year before that, 23 points on 23 minutes. So that was another game. Even if you're worried about the blowout, he went over that total. So for me, I'm not overthinking it. I think this is a great bounce back spot. They need Donovan Mitchell to find his form going into the playoff time. So there's no better time for them to do that right now against a familiar opponent, a familiar location, and then also against the same time a defense that is god-awful at stopping anybody. I'm expecting a lot of points here today. So give me Donovan Mitchell and give me Darius Garland to both go over their points and assists as our first 2 best bets of the day. For our third best bet of the day and our third NBA player prop, we're going to go to this Knicks and Heat matchup. That is another game where we have a lot of playoff implications. Like I just mentioned with the Cavaliers, the Knicks right now in the 4 seed, they're half a game back behind the Cavaliers for the 3 seed, but before you know it, they drop a few more games, they can find themselves in the 5th seed. So they're definitely not trying to have that happen. So as a result, there's a very big matchup today with them in the South Beach against Miami Heat. The total in this matchup is around 208, 207. So we're expecting a low-scoring game, a very defensive matchup. So now I got to ask myself who's going to score, okay? So when I look at this matchup, you're probably going off Rick. Oh, Jimmy Butler, go bam, Noble. Nah, I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to go Duncan Robinson over 10.5 points, minus 125 odds on Caesars is what I got it at. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, Noble, Duncan Robinson? Why are you taking Duncan Robinson right now? Especially you mentioned this is a big game for both of these teams. You're right. But Duncan Robinson, if you look at how the Knicks play defense, one, they don't give a ton of points to anybody. They play tough. Well, you know that like I know that. But also at the same time, Eric Spoelstra is one of the best situational coaches in the NBA. And what I mean by that is he draws up plays based on the matchup that he finds that he can exploit. And if you looked at the Eastern Conference semifinal series between these 2 teams last year, you saw that he was exploiting the Knicks defense and specifically Jalen Brunson, because that's where the Knicks try to hide him on defense defense is by putting him on Duncan Robinson, and as a result, Eric Spoelstra draws up a lot of off-ball screens, a lot of driving kick opportunities for Robinson to be able to get shots. Now, this is another guy who's just coming off an injury as well. He only played one game on Sunday. He had 6 points in that matchup on 2 of 7 from the three-point line, 2 of 7 from the field. So he didn't go over this number here, but I like the fact in his first game back from injury, he played 28 minutes. So that kind of shows you, yeah, it's a little bit of a minute restriction, but still enough volume and time for him to be able to go over this total at 10.5. But before he went down on that injury, we saw him putting up some good numbers. Against the Pistons in back-to-back games, 30 points and 16 points. In the games before that against Nuggets and the Wizards, he had 11 points and 16 points. So we've seen him be able to shoot the ball and score the ball, and overall in the season, Duncan Robinson's numbers are not that bad. 13.5 points per game, which is what you love to see. He played the Knicks one time earlier in January. He had 19 points in that matchup on 43% shooting from the field, so you can't be mad at that. He's shooting 47% from the field, 37% from the three-point line, so the numbers are there. But like I mentioned, what the Knicks are going to be able to do defensively is they're going to put Hartenstein, they're going to put Achua on Bam. That's their way of kind of being able to hold Bam at bay. They're going to put Josh Hart, who you know is going to play about 48 minutes or so, on Jimmy Butler. So that means now who else for this Heat team is going to be able to make an impact? That's where I think Duncan Robinson comes in. This Heat team this year is a little bit different from the Heat team in the past because Duncan Robinson is really the only sharpshooter that they've got. Why? I mean, yeah, we got Tyler Hero, but Tyler Hero's not really a sharpshooter. He's more of like a volume scorer, in my opinion. And with Max Strus now leaving that team, that now leaves on Duncan Robinson to really be able to stretch the floor. And then we know the Knicks are going to throw a few different people at Tyler Hero as well. Probably DiVincenzo's going to grab him, which means that's going to be a very scrappy matchup. We know Thibodeau loves to run a lot of minutes with his teams, and when you look at the Knicks lineup and who they're rolling out in terms of Brunson, Hart, McBride, DiVincenzo, Hartenstein, these guys actually have one of the best lineups in the NBA according to the advanced metrics and numbers, but it is a small sample size. So because of that, I believe that the Heat understand they have to make some adjustments. There's some moves that they're going to have to make today. And Duncan Robinson, with the volume that he should be able to get up in the shots and the way that he's been able to play consistently, if he gets the minutes in this matchup, he should be able to exploit Brunson a little bit. A lot of driving kick opportunities with Jimmy getting into the paint. Same thing with Tyler Hero. And then for me, I think that Duncan Robinson is going to be a focal point of this offense today. Give me 10.5 points as our third and final best bet of the day. Now, I do have a moneyline parlay for you guys. Real quick little bonus 2-team Steam Bozo pack for you guys. And what we're going to go with is Indiana State on the moneyline, parlaying that with Braves on the moneyline. That gets you to plus 130 odds. Now, if you want to add another team to this to get even better juice, then you want to add the Red Sox on the moneyline. That gets you to buy a plus 260 odds there. And I really like that, okay? So let's break down both of these teams real quickly. The Indiana State Sycamores, they are playing in the semifinals of the NIT. Now, I'm not a big fan of taking NIT games, but when you make it to the semifinals, at this point you're dealing with the team, so we made it this far, we might as well see it through to completion. We might as well win this whole thing, right? And I think that's the kind of the mindset that Indiana State has after being chipped from the NCAA tournament, even though I think they should have made it. That's neither here nor there. I think they're playing with incentive to show people and the conference and the committee, hey, we mid-majors, we might lose in our conference tournament because we may have one bad game, but we can very much beat these Power 5 schools, and now they get to take on the Utah Utes here, and Utah has been a team that has struggled away from home all year. Now you're saying, Noble, I thought this was at a neutral court. It is, but this is the thing. The NIT changed this year. They're no longer having it at Madison Square Garden where they normally have the semifinals and finals. This year it's at Hinkle Fieldhouse. That's in Indianapolis where the Butler Bulldogs play. As a result, it's not that far from where the Indiana State Sycamores play. So this is going to be basically a true home game for Indiana State. And if you watch that game against Cincinnati, that home stadium was rocking. So I'm expecting a lot of fan support here today. I'm expecting a lot of the people to come out and support the Indiana State Sycamores, and I'm expecting to be about a home environment for them in this matchup. I also like the fact that Indiana State boasts a very strong offense. We've talked about that so far on the channel. We took them when they played Cincinnati. They're led by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Robbie Avila, right? That big dude who can pass it, he can shoot it, he can kill them all types of ways. And then they also got Ryan Conwell, they got Isaiah Swoop. So they've got a lot of different weapons, and that's why they're the #1 team in the country in terms of effective field goal percentage, #1 in 2-point percentage, number 11 in three-point percentage, number 2 in free throw percentage, so they can kill you on the offensive side of the ball. Now, the Utes have the advantage defensively just because of their size. They have such big guys. Brandon Carlson, the 7-footer. Lawson Lovering, a 7-footer. Kay Bakita, a 6'8" forward. So they have the size advantage here, and that could play to their favor, but I just don't know if they're going to be able to trade enough 2s for 3s to be able to win this game outright, especially when you look at the fact that this game is going to be technically like a home game for Indiana State, and Utah does not really cause a lot of turnovers. And then when you look at their road to this point, I think that Indiana State has played the better competition in my opinion. Utah has played UC Irvine, they played Iowa, a team that plays zero defense, and then they played VCU, a team that can't score the ball. So it's just like here, now they have to play against a team that can do it on both sides of the ball, and that has basically a home court advantage here. I'm just going to take Indiana State here on the money line. I would lay the 2.5, 3 points if you want to do that. KenPom has this as a 1-point win for Indiana State. I'm not overthinking it. Give me Indiana State to make it to the finals of the NIT. Now, the Braves on the money line, that's a pick that doesn't really need any explanation. The Braves are one of the best teams in baseball, okay? And right now, we're just fading certain teams. The White Sox are 0-5 to start the year, and now they're kind of going with like a bullpen game here. They got Garrett Crochet coming on the mound to kind of get everything started, but he pitched 6 innings in his last start against the Tigers, which was last Thursday, and he went 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 1 earned run with 8 strikeouts. Pretty good numbers, right? But 1, that was against the Tigers, which is not that strong of an offense. But 2, they lost that game. The White Sox did. 1-0. That's right. So think about that, right? They lost that game after this guy gave you 6 innings of 8 strikeouts of 1-run ball, and now you have to go face the Braves, who've got Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna Jr., Matt Olson, Orlando Arcia. There's so many guys who can kill you on the offensive side. I just don't think the White Sox are going to be able to score enough runs in this game, in all honesty. Now, is the Braves pitching I'm worried about? Yeah, just a little bit, but I think this is just a matchup here where that the Braves are going to be able to have enough offense. They can win this game easily 5-2, 7-3, and be perfectly fine. I'm going to go with the Braves offense here, fading that Chicago White Sox team who have not won a game yet this year. Give me Indiana State on the money line, give me Braves on the money line, and let's wrap this thing up. If you want to get some more juice, throw the Red Sox on the money line in there as well. Well, that's it for me today, my friends. 4 best bets that I gave you on this card. 3 player props. Give me Donovan Mitchell on 22.5 points. Give me Darius Garland over 6.5 assists. Give me Duncan Robinson over 10.5 points. And then also give me that little bozo pack right there between Indiana State and the Braves. That will get us over the hump. For more best bets, picks, and plays that I'm dropping throughout the day, click the link in the description. Join the free Discord group. Can't wait to see you on the other side, my friends. Let's continue to cash on these best bets and continue to get after it. I'll see you on tomorrow's video. Later, gang.